everybody. Welcome to the Indie Show. We've got a full house for you today. So again, the Indie Show is a talk show forward with creatives. I'm one of your hosts, Joey Vitale. This is Caitlin Allen, who is with me in person today. I'm here in Phoenix, and Meighan O'Toole is with us as well. Meighan is a social media marketing expert, works with some really great brands, is unrolling some new things that I think are going to be exciting for a lot of you guys to hear about. Meighan, how did you get started down this path of social media and helping other businesses with it?
Oh gosh. All right, Reader's Digest version. Hello, everybody. Joey, thank you for both of you having me here. I am really excited to chat with you. So I got started, I was in the retail business, and the plan was for me to own my own boutique, women's clothing, jewelry. That was like my jam. And I bought a laptop in 2005, and I knew about the internet. Like I knew about eBay and PayPal, and like I was using MySpace and Friendster, but I didn't really understand like what the internet was about.
Yeah.
So basically, I just fell in love with the internet. I had my first Mac, and I started my first blog in 2006 called My Love for You is a Stampede of Horses, which became one of the premier art blogs. Basically, from 2006 to 2010, I ran it and lived off it for the last year of it. And I basically started blogging. I taught myself HTML. I started using this thing called social media. Like I recognized that Twitter was like this cool thing that I could use instead of texting my friends like random ideas I had. That's how I like kind of came with Twitter. But prior to Twitter, like I'd had a Flickr pool for like the audience to share their art. There's lots of things that I was doing that like I just didn't realize like was changing my career in the process. So like I taught myself how to podcast. I did studio visits. I taught myself how to use a camera. I just taught myself all of this stuff. And I am from the Boston Public Schools, and I just didn't really learn a lot in school. And so the internet sort of opened up this whole like world to me where I could like Google things and learn them in the privacy of my bedroom, right? And so by 2010, I was living back in San Francisco. I got an email from Yahoo. Long story short, they hired me, asked me to come in and help them develop their social media voice. And this was in 2010. And I was like, people get paid to do this? Like, this is crazy. And they paid me like more money than I knew what to do with. And the real Reader's Digest version there is I didn't love corporate tech. I was there for 6 months. I came into Yahoo at a point where like they had literally the week that I started, they'd laid off 10% of their workforce. So for anybody that's ever been in that kind of office environment, it is tense. So basically all these things that I was promised that I could do, they were like, just sit over here and work on the Twitter. And so I basically transformed their Twitter feed. And I left there, I went on to work for Wikipedia's for-profit sister company called Wikia. And I worked there as a year as a community manager, learned a lot, really cut my teeth on like how to exist online, how to deal with trolls, how to deal with, you know, flame outs in comment threads. I mean, I really learned a ton, and it was a really great environment. And then I went and worked for Wired magazine for 6 months, and that was sort of bookended my experience in the corporate tech world. And I just didn't love it. I just didn't love it. I had given up my blog to go work in an office environment that just, I'm sure many creatives that are watching can relate. Like office environments can be really stifling. Mm-hmm. So I got laid off in 2012. I actually got fired, but they framed it as that I was getting laid off. And yeah, I started my career, my new business then in 2012, August of 2012. I had a friend who ran a place in San Francisco called Makeshift Society, which was one of the first sort of like co-working clubhouses. And she said, I really want you to teach workshops. So her name's Rena Tom, and she was one of the first people that was like, you need to offer these, you know, the skill set to creatives and artists and small businesses, because they don't know any of this stuff. They don't know social media. They don't know how to blog. And that's how my business started. So it'll be 6 years next month.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. I feel like your story is not only impressive, but like so universal, especially in our space.
It really is. And it's one of the things that I really try to share with the people I work with, especially people that are just starting out, like building their own idea online, that like you can, I mean, it's very different than, 12 years ago when I started, but there's still room. There's still, there's still the possibility for you to build your dream online. It's a little bit different, but it's still kind of the same.
So what is it about going on your own path that you like so much that's in contrast to working for corporate?
So I'm like a really big believer in like teams and supporting each other and, giving credit where credit is due. And I just didn't experience that at Wired and Yahoo. Like it was very cutthroat and very, I was definitely experienced that at Wikia. Like at Wikia, they really taught you to like push back on your managers. Like if you don't believe in something, like say why and back it up. And so that was a really positive experience. But both of those corporate tech environments, I just felt like one of the ways in which I described working at Wired was, I don't know if you've seen True Blood, but it was like a vampire pod, like people were like, it was just toxic, and like, people like some of the feedback I got was that I need to stop being so nice because people wonder what I want. And I was like, I'm a social media / community manager. Like, that's what I do. Like, I'm about community. I'm about bringing people together. Like, I don't want anything from you other than like your content or, so it was just that. It was just not a good experience for me. But, mind you, I'd worked in retail forever and I loved it. And I don't know what the difference was. I mean, I guess I was just lucky that I worked on, teams, and you really have to be supportive in retail. Like it's sort of like a well-oiled machine. You have to help each other in order for the like boutique or the shop to work well. So
I think sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't want to like, toot my own horn. I definitely brought some negativity to like those experiences around Yahoo and Wired that like, it just wasn't a good experience for me. So I withered. And I think a lot of creatives can relate to this. I'm incredibly sensitive. So like I would kind of feel like the tension, and that made it really hard for me to create good work.
I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I'm a creative minded individual at a law firm. Once I started to get a sense that, so-and-so had, a problem with the work that I did, or something wouldn't go right, it would like spiral that down. And
Totally.
It would go from me having a pretty good track record at the firm to this one bad project or mistake that I made that caused me to take 2 or 3 times as long to get a research project done because I was so worried that I would mess up again.
Oh yeah. It's like this self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like you believe you're not being supported, so then you're not supported, so then you turn in crappy work, and then people really aren't supporting you. And that was exactly my experience at Wired. I should have left. I never should have taken the job. There are a lot of great people there that I met that I'm still in touch with today that are amazing journalists and wonderful people, and they don't work at Wired anymore. But the writing was on the wall for me from the very beginning, and it taught me a lot about my own naivete around like sexism and just sort of thinking it was all me when it really wasn't. It just wasn't a good fit. And so that has really helped me also just like, realize like when I see red flags with like people that possibly want to work with me, like I've worked with some big corporations and I now know like okay, this isn't a good match, right? And that's like a reality.
So your story, I think, blends itself really nicely into this topic that we wanted to talk about today, which is like how to get over perfectionism in social media.
Yeah.
And so you've become like a legitimate pro at this. And I think that you, as providing this type of marketing service for creatives, more than most people how much perfectionism can stand in the way of like an effective marketing
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us a little bit about kind of what, I mean, do you see perfectionism as a pretty big problem right now with among small business owners and their marketing and their social media?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with any kind of content creation, I see it all the time. I mean, you name it, like in video, in posting on Instagram, in writing a blog post, sending a newsletter. Everybody wants, and this is a common thing. This isn't like everybody experiences it. Some people deal with it, you know, deeper than others, but it's a common thing I see where people like just want everything to be just right before they send, you know, whatever it is out, before they put it out into the world. And, you know, one of the things that has really helped me continue to build my own business is like, I always look back to my like dinky little blog that I created in 2006 and like had no idea what I was doing. And, you know, 4 million views later, like, you know, I was living off it. And it was all because I don't know what it was. It was like some sort of like divine intervention that I just started posting. And I just got better, right? Like the more I posted, the more I got better at like, you know, creating graphics, being a better editor around sound, taking better photos. And that's one of the things that I say to people is like, you just have to begin so you can start to see where your weak spots are, you know? Like one of the things that I just had a friend who's moving her business and she wants me to work with her to train one of her people. And she was like, do you do like heavy lifting, like posting social media? I'm like, no, my grammar and spelling is terrible, right? It's terrible. And so I don't do that for people because I don't want to create that, you know, I don't want to do that to my business. But I think that's one of the important things about being a small business is realizing what's a skill, like what you can get better at and what you can just not do, right? So like with my writing and my posting, I just read it 100 times before I send it out. You know, I just really make sure. And if there's a spelling error online, I go and fix it. And I've seen that literally like paralyze people where they're so afraid that they're going to look stupid. And another thing that I say to people is like, nobody's watching you right now. Like, I'm not trying to be harsh, but like nobody's paying attention, right? So if you make a mistake, it's fine. And the other thing to think about, the flip side, is the people who are watching, they're on your team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they understand that people make mistakes.
I have a weird example, but it relates, I promise. I was in like 7th or 8th grade and there was this like dance with me in the grade above me. And I was like so scared to like dance with the group. And an older friend pulled me aside and they were like, why aren't you dancing? And I was like, because I just don't feel comfortable. And they were like, well, do whatever you want, but no one is watching you. And no one is grading your dancing skills.
Yeah.
Like people don't care about you as much as you think they do. And that can be hard to hear, but also very liberating.
Totally. Yeah.
There's 2 things that I wanted to touch on in that. The first one is let the haters comment on your stuff with spelling checks. Let them comment because guess what? You're getting engagement. Like that's all. Like when my clients are like, oh, there's a spelling error. I'm like, I'm sorry, but also did somebody correct you? Because that's an engagement. Like you just got extra engagement.
Well, the other thing also that's happened with the internet in the time that I've been online is like the support that people will give you. So when you see like content creators make a mistake and somebody will call them out and then somebody will call that person out, like you must be fun at parties, you know, like I constantly, I've seen that comment a lot. It's like, give them a break, you know?
But I think the other thing that I was going to touch on is I feel like there's lots of people who tell you, yes, get out there, create your stuff. But they are the first people to be like, oh, that person's doing IGTV. They don't have good content. They shouldn't be doing IGTV.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I've seen a lot in the creative industry is the people who tell people to go and do the things. And then when people do the things and they're not 100%, they get hated on.
Yeah.
Brene Brown talks about that a lot. There's a quote that she uses in Daring Greatly, I think in the beginning of Daring Greatly, where she talks about like getting in the arena. It's a quote from like Ford or somebody. And and getting in the arena and like working it out, because the people in the stands are always going to be in the stands. Like they're not going to be in the arena with you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and I do want to like just kind of cushion what we're saying here, because I think some people are taking this idea of not being a perfectionist and they're running with it in almost too far the other direction. And there's a problem that I'm seeing right now with some people where like they're just putting a lot of noise on their social media feeds.
Yep. Yeah.
It's hard to see exactly what their point is, or there's low engagement and they're not tweaking things. I mean, yes, there's sometimes perfectionism that is preventing people from even getting out there.
Yes.
But are you also helping people with like making sure that they are eliminating or learning from stuff that's not working so that they are getting?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's where your analytics is going to come in. And then also just like social media has like destroyed our expectations, right? We're so used to these immediate hits.
Yeah.
And we also see these other businesses and brands that have like 65,000 followers and they, you know, and like, you just can't pay attention to that. And one of the things that I really like coach people around is like finding their voice, figuring out what their message is, and like what are their goals, right? So like one of the things that I really recommend is like drilling down like what you talk about online. So like I noticed recently Facebook must have tweaked its newsfeed lately, because I'm seeing all these pages that like I haven't seen in forever. And there's one that's like dedicated to like small, it's like an Etsy thing. And the content they post, I mean, that's what made me be like, why do I like this page? It has nothing to do with like building a shop on Etsy. It's like these viral videos. And like, while yeah, it's great to get engagement and like to see those likes, but that's not going to do anything for your brand reach. It's not going to do anything. And there's a lot of like, when people start out, there's a lot of confusion around that. They don't understand that they have to set goals. They don't understand that they have to like really like break down like what their messaging is and like speak to only their core audience, right? Like people get very lost and like, I got to talk to everybody. I don't want to like annoy my friends, and it's like, you can't care about that. You have to. So on a bit of a tangent, like one of the things that people hate to do is to figure out who their core customer is. And especially with a lot of creative businesses, it's like, it feels really corporate, but there's a reason why businesses do that. It's so you can be on point with your messaging, right?
Yeah, I feel like I am almost to 1,000 followers on Instagram, and everybody's like, oh, like that's cute. And I'm like, well, yeah, but my engagement is 70% and you have 15 and you can't even get 200 likes on your posts.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm really winning here because I'm getting engagement.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes icky when you have these people who are like, oh, 100 or 1,000 followers, like that's cute.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I share a lot with people is like, you can have like massive engagement with 200 people in your Facebook group, you know, or like on Instagram.
Might buy from you, not out of that 15,000.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So that's why like the whole like get 1,000 followers in 30 days, like that stuff in the long term just doesn't work for everybody, right? You end up attracting people that aren't going to buy from you and they're just dead weight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's great that you've got such great engagement. It's really important. And it's good that you pay attention to that.
She knows what she's doing. But I feel like the broader thing, this is something that we talked about before we went live, was this idea of sensitivity. And I'm curious for anybody who's watching live or on the replay, let us know in the comments if you feel like your sensitivity is getting in the way of you like succeeding in business. Because that's something that Meighan and I were talking about before, was that a lot of this, you know, striving for being a perfectionist comes from this place of being really sensitive as a human being. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing, but it's causing a lot of fear around marketing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I've definitely had moments, and that's actually one of the things I did this roundup post today of like 17 things you can do in your small business when it's like the dog days of summer. Yeah. And I was like looking back at a video that I made because I wanted to include that and make sure it was up to date. And one of the things I'm talking about in there is like, there are going to be highs and lows in your business and you just have to roll with it. Like that sensitivity might take you out one week, but it's up to you to like get back in the game the following week, you know, or the next day or the next minute, like whenever you have that strength, you can't let your sensitivity hold you back. I mean, I think it's a really valuable asset for a lot of people, for sure.
Can we, there is a comment that just came in. I've tried really hard to be less sensitive and not care if someone doesn't like everything I post. Yeah, can we talk about, Meighan, can we talk about trolls and haters and how to deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that that's where really, there's a couple things around this, like really narrowing in on who is your core audience, right? Like who are you speaking to, and what do you want to share? So there are some times where you're going to share stuff that you need to take an honest look. Are you alienating your core audience, right? Like, are you off topic? So like what I was sharing with you guys earlier about the example of that page that I noticed, so sharing viral videos, it's like, this isn't helpful for me. It's just adding noise to my feed. So you should really take a look at like audit your content, do like a very honest audit of like, how is your content doing? How, like, what is resonating with people? And then another thing to think about is like, because of like the turbulent times we're in, especially in the States, you know, I've seen a lot of businesses. So I work with a lot of progressive small businesses, right? Like politics, progressive actions are really important to them. Inclusivity, diversity, that's all really important. So there's been a lot of change around their content over the past couple of years, right? Like including that stuff in their content. So you might need to sit down and like iron out, like, what are your topics again? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to stay away from? I just wrote a blog post about this, about, you know, posting like, sort of like, what was the term that I used? Like basically like throwing up political posts onto social media that are like definitely, you know, well-intentioned, but they're kind of a mess. Yeah. Like, yes, it's important to feel like we're all doing stuff, but like there's this, in the blog post, I shared this great tweet from Roxane Gay, who's an author. And she says, just because you're not posting your activism on social media doesn't mean you're not involved in activism, right? And like, there are plenty of ways as a business to be an activist, but you don't have to, you know, put yourself like, you know, on the highway online where you're just like, you know, blowing up. And because it's happened, right? Like where people have gone viral because they posted something that is like way off topic or like way not cool. So these are things that you need to think about. And if you feel like you're alienating people, like be really honest with yourself. Like, did you do something that like maybe is like way off the mark, or maybe it's something that you feel really proud of and you're okay with losing those followers? Like you really have to think about the big picture with your content.
Yeah,
I love that. No, we only have 5 minutes left, and so I want to make sure, Meighan, that we talk about this new thing that you're working on and going to be launching, I think, in the fall. So everybody, Meighan works with 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, helping them do their higher level marketing strategies. But she is rolling out a new membership program for businesses who may not be at that point yet, but could still get a lot of value from what Meighan learns and knows about marketing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
With your membership, like what is it offering, I guess?
So we're still scaffolding everything out, but basically what it's going to be, it's a membership site. It's going to be off Facebook. It's on a private community. And we will have a Q&A coaching call once a month with me, where we'll have the opportunity for hot seats. So you can get like my eyes on your marketing, your content, your small business growth. And then we'll also have another event during the month where it's either a strategy session that I'm doing, where we're like outlining like how to audit your marketing channels, or how to define who your customer is. And then on the off months, I'll be bringing in experts in their industry, like at the top of their industry, and talking to them about specific topics. And then, in between those events, we will have like things happening in the community, like, posting and education. And we should be launching in the middle of September, I think, for that. And if you're interested, you can sign up on my newsletter at my website, which is meighanO'toole.com/newsletter.
Nice.
Awesome. We'll link
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we'll definitely link that up in the comments. And if you guys are worrying about or concerned with perfectionism, or you feel like you are kind of holding yourself back from getting you and your business and your marketing out there, stay in touch with Meighan, and we'll let you guys know when this course becomes available as well. We'll help share it out.
Yeah.
And Meighan, thank you for your time, for your tips, and sharing your story. I mean, I think some people can relate to that. And that's why.
Yeah, of course. And anybody that's watching, like, feel free to send me an email and say hello, or leave any comments below. I'll be checking comments, see if I can answer anything. So yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Of course. All right, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.